Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere. On air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools. Redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Live from Studio C at the Cherry Hill campus for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, it's All Noise Radio's Sports Talk with the Down
goes Frazier! He scores! High fly ball into right field. She is gone!
Welcome to another edition of Sports Talk with the Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. If you want to get in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, or send me a tweet at the Yossi G, or find me on Facebook, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the... Send me a message there as well. A lot to get into, not a lot of time to get through, and one of the things that is going on, like right now, it's just about to get underway, of course, is the final slot in the American League for the winner between Oakland and Detroit to play the Boston Red Sox in the American League Championship Series. Both, of course, Oakland and Detroit tied 2 games each. And one of the things, I don't know if any of you have had the same kind of reaction to the baseball postseason, as it were. The baseball playoffs this year versus, say, like it's been the other years. Think about some of the teams that are not there, that weren't even in the expanded playoffs like it has been this year, the first year where they had that wild card game. Even in the expanded playoffs format, think about the teams that made it to the postseason this year versus in years past. There really isn't a team that draws you, that really garners a lot of attention. Most of the teams that made it into the postseason this year are teams that kind of fly under the radar. I mean, look at St. Louis. I mean, anybody outside the Midwest really just doesn't, they know about the team. I mean, Tony La Russa's not there. Adam Wainwright. I mean, there isn't really much of a storyline there that would really garner a national audience's attention. I mean, they just beat they beat Pittsburgh last night 6-1. Pittsburgh, everybody loves the underdog, Cinderella story. In the case for the Pirates, the team that hasn't made the playoffs in 21 years. So, of course, you kind of hopped on that bandwagon even if you don't really like Pittsburgh or anything that has come out of that portion of Pennsylvania, simply because the guys haven't had much to cheer about. That team specifically hasn't made the postseason before this year in what seems like forever. I mean, I think the last time they made the postseason, George Bush Sr. was the president. So that just gives you some perspective. I mean, at that point in time, Bill Clinton was just a little-known governor of Arkansas. So that's just to give you some perspective, the last time Pittsburgh made the postseason before this year. So you're kind of hopping on that bandwagon, but outside of that, I mean, what are you really following with the Pirates outside of just that one simple storyline? I mean, would that have been enough really to garner all the attention and the hoopla surrounding the baseball playoffs that has been in the past years when you've had other stalwarts like the Yankees in there, or perhaps in the middle 2000s like the Twins, or even a team that nobody really likes because whenever they got in, they would do something in the playoffs and then they would be disbanded in the Miami, now Florida Marlins. And then you have the Dodgers, but the Dodgers, okay, I'm all right. So there's some of the storyline there with, Yossi Puig and the whole Cuban defection and all of that. But essentially, there's nothing, again, you're back to one storyline. That's it. In case for Boston, they're a powerhouse. I mean, it's Boston. But there's no Yankees, so there's no storyline. It's just the Boston Red Sox. They had a really good season. All right, end of story. Tampa, they beat Tampa 3-1, so, I mean, now Tampa's out. But then, again, it kind of fell into that same idea as Pittsburgh, where it's that underdog in that division, in that really, really top-heavy division of the AL East. Detroit, again, I mean, got Justin Verlander. I think it kind of ends there. Okay, maybe we'll give you Prince Fielder also. But Oakland, again, Billy Beane and Moneyball. Kind of the same idea as Tampa Bay. And they're playing, I mean, the game is just about getting underway right now to, winner goes to Boston to play the Red Sox in the ALCS. But you would think that usually when it comes to baseball playoffs that it would be something like, you have all the storylines, especially this year. If the Yankees would have made the playoffs, forget it. I mean, you're talking Mariano Rivera retiring, Andy Pettitte retiring, the scandal surrounding Alex Rodriguez. You got, Derek Jeter not really playing much during the season. Will Joe Girardi be back? Well, now we know he's going to be back. The Yankees signed him to a 4-year extension today. But those were the questions. These would have been the questions had the Yankees made the playoffs. I mean, it seems like that they really have that whole reality TV soap opera drama always surrounding the team. It's kind of like, would you rather watch the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or like 30 Rock? I really wouldn't care for either, but I guess I would rather watch the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, just because of the sheer stupidity that sometimes comes out through that show. Yeah, 30 Rock, I mean, it could be smart, but it's just kind of usually like one storyline. So if you could keep up with it and it doesn't bore you to death, fine, that's awesome. But the Kardashians, it's kind of pulling at you from all different directions, all different angles, and bringing a whole bunch of different things into one big fat pot of stew that just sits there, and it's somehow supposed to mesh and mix all so well, but usually it does not. 856-330-4749. If you want to jump in, we have a couple phone lines open for you right now. Get in on the conversation or shoot a tweet at me at the Yossi G, or send me a message on Facebook. Look me up, facebook.com/sports talk with the sports rabbi. Don't forget to search that portion once you get into Facebook in order to find me. And you talk about, now we got the NFL coming up, and of course the hockey season has begun, and the NBA playoffs are be shortly underway, or rather the NBA season, I'm already getting to playoffs. The NBA season, will be shortly underway. One of the things that happened this week that surprised many people, myself included, was not that Vegas got it right, as it many, many a times does, but how quick it took Vegas to be correct. And if they would have known the odds for that, I think it would have been a little stronger. Probably made some more money. But before the season started in the NHL, Las Vegas put out odds that the coaches to be fired this season, who would be the first, second, third, etc. And they had 2-1 odds that Peter Laviolette would be the first coach fired. Entering the season, Laviolette is on very short ice, very thin ice, I should say, with the Philadelphia Flyers. But he was brought back mostly because the GM, Paul Holmgren, felt that last year, being an aberration of a season, only 48 games, strike-shortened season, that he should give him another shot, give him another chance. See, maybe now with a couple of additions of players on the team, Laviolette would be able to kind of change over, transform the mentality that has been the Philadelphia Flyers the last season and a half, 2 seasons. Gives them that chance. 3 games into the season, the Flyers are standing at a healthy 0-3-0. Lost all 3 games and only put out 3 goals. 1 goal per game. That's it. Holmgren decides that's it. We got to pull the plug, yank it. There goes Laviolette. 3 games into the season, the quickest yanking, the shortest firing of a coach. Quickest firing of a NHL head coach in nearly 40 years. A little bit more than 40 years. A little bit less than 40 years, rather. They bring in Craig Berube, a former Flyer himself. He used to play for the Flyers, parts of 7 seasons. Tough guy. His nickname is the Chief. The question, of course, though, is, it's multifold, and we're going to get some comments after the break from NHL Insider, our NHL Insider and WFAN columnist, Islanders columnist Dan Friedman. I'm going to have a little bit of a chit-chat. He was not able to come onto the show today, but I'm going to ask him to at least give us some of his comments. I'm going to read them to you. We had a little bit of a chit-chat earlier today, and I'll read it to you some of his comments about what he thought about this firing. Now, in terms of things that were going on the Flyer side of the organization, the question, of course, becomes, if you're firing Laviolette after 3 games, obviously you don't know that you're going to fire Laviolette after 3 games, but if you have him on such a short leash, where the potentiality, and in this case, actuality, of Laviolette being fired after 3 games would occur, then why bother bring him back in the first place? Why even bring him back? Why bother? Just cut ties with him last year, May, June, whatever it was. The season ended, cut ties with him, and move on. Maybe he would go find himself another coaching gig and be on another team. Maybe it's a change of scenery. Or perhaps he'd find himself somewhere, either spending time with his family, spending more time, or maybe he would be, broadcasting somewhere for maybe CSN or something like that. But why bring him back through training camp, preseason, only to let him go after but 3 games? You'd think if you're going to give the guy a fair shot, that he would get a dozen games, and okay, if the Flyers start 8-0, then yeah, you fire him then. Okay, 8 straight losses kind of will do that. But it was only 3 games, and then he got the yank. Then he got fired. Again, the question is, what was the point in bringing him back? For me, I'm looking at this, and I say to myself, all right, I understand where, Paul Holmgren is coming from in a sense where, all right, okay, he didn't have a full season last year to work with, and every injury gets a little magnified because it's not that a player now is out for 1 game. It's kind of like, maybe a game and a half, 2 games for some players that they would, theoretically be out if it was a regular season. Couple that with the fact that there was no training camp. Barely anything. They had a week from once the a disagreement between the Players Association and the owners came to a conclusion until the season started last year. So there wasn't that much time. And I understand that you say, okay, I'll give him the appropriate time. I'll give him everything that he needs to make it happen, to go ahead and put forth his best foot and make the Flyers the team that they were when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals under Laviolette a couple seasons ago. But you think you'd give him more games than just 3 games? The question, though, of course, becomes, did he lose the locker room? And if he lost the locker room, I really don't see how a coach can lose the locker room in 3 games. But and I don't believe he lost the locker room in 3 games. I think the locker room was already lost from last season, which again begs the other question of why then bring him back. If he already lost the locker room, then what's the point in bringing him back? When we come back, I will have some answers for you, and I will read to you some thoughts from our own NHL insider, Dan Friedman. 856-330-4749. You're listening to Sports Talk All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Honey, again you're sitting here sulking?
I hate my job and I don't know what to do to change it.
Get off the couch and go check out the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting? What's that? The Connecticut School of Broadcasting offers a career and lifestyle change through a broadcasting experience you won't ever forget. Log on to GoCSB.com to find out how a career in broadcasting is for you and not just the people you see on TV or hear on the radio. CSB focuses on many aspects of real-world broadcasting, and their knowledgeable instructors teach you through a hands-on approach so you're in the studio in no time. To find out how CSB can help you work in an industry you love, call 1-800-TV-RADIO or check us out online at GoCSB.com.
Why work 50 weeks a year for a 2-week vacation when you can enjoy your job every day?
Don't just sit there. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Thanks, CSB.
Welcome back to Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, you can jump in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, or send me a tweet at the Yossi G, or of course, you can always send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com, don't forget to search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, and send me a message, veer in, let me know what your thoughts are on for this show. And like I promised, of course, I had this little conversation. I promised this before the break. I had this little conversation with Daniel Friedman, our own NHL insider, and WFAN's Islanders columnist. I was talking to him about what we were discussing, of course, before the break, that being Laviolette, former coach Peter Laviolette being fired, being let go by the Philadelphia Flyers after only 3 games, and hiring Craig Berube as his replacement. And of course, we know what happened this week. Berube comes in, Flyers win the first game 2-1, of course, scoring 2 goals, more than they have done at all season against a Tim Thomas-led Florida Panthers team. So Friedman wrote to me that I thought it was ridiculous, not only in terms of when Laviolette was fired, but that he was fired at all. Paul Holmgren traded away the heart and soul of his team, shipping Mike Richards, Jeff Carter, and Sergei Bobrovsky out of town. He's made several more questionable moves as well. What you have here is a coach taking the fall for the shortcomings of his GM. And if you're going to fire him anyway, they should have just gotten it over with at the end of last season. 3 games isn't a chance. That's a rush job. You know what? There's some of the things that I'm going to agree with here. Of course, 3 games, of course, is not an appropriate chance. And if you're going to fire him after 3 games, then you should have let him go after last season. That I totally agree with. But I don't know, trading away the heart and soul, they weren't necessarily performing to par. Sergei Bobrovsky, if you could have known that Bob was going to be the type of player that he is now, I think you have to go find yourself and go interview for a job with an NHL club, because I don't think anybody saw that coming out of Bobrovsky. So that he let Bobrovsky go, perhaps the goalie of the future for Philadelphia. Then again, you also have to think perhaps it was Philadelphia itself. The fans are really rabid. They are fantastic fans and wonderful to be around. But as soon as something goes wrong, they are jumping right in all up on you. If you go to a team that doesn't necessarily get the spotlight all the time, perhaps that's what Bobrovsky needed, was that change of scenery where he wasn't going to be ridiculed and asked about every single goal that he allowed in. In terms of Carter and Richards, look, Holmgren really thought that this would be the time when he traded them to get something out of them that he could help make the team a little younger. They certainly aren't getting any younger, and he felt that their best years in the game were past their prime, and the best years in the game were already beyond them. So, look, why it was done, certainly, Ed Snyder, the owner, believes 100% and puts all his support behind Paul Holmgren, and Holmgren decided that was going to be the case. So that's exactly what happened, and that's where they are left now. Of course, the hope is that Berube will, change the team's philosophy and lead them to the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen. No way. This team is not that good. They have a lot of problems on defense. They obviously can't score that many goals, and their goaltending capabilities are average at best. This team is not going to the playoffs, so I really don't know what the whole point was in terms of making this exact change. Firing Laviolette and hiring Berube. Yeah, Berube will get under your skin and he'll make sure the players are all accountable and held accountable for their actions. But in essence, I don't see him being any sort of a different pace than Laviolette. Laviolette was fiery. Berube was a fiery player, so he'll probably be a fiery coach. But outside of that, I really don't see anything really happening. For Philadelphia, for the Flyers. So, it is what it is type of thing. 856-330-4749. Talking about Philadelphia, and you know what that makes the Philadelphia franchises as a whole, it turns out that now that Laviolette's out, Chip Kelly, the new coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, the man who was hired out of Oregon to be the head coach at the end of last season, in the offseason, and this is his first year in the NFL as a coach, is now the longest tenured coach in in Philadelphia. I think that's pretty incredible if you think about it. There goes Laviolette. Suddenly, Chip Kelly's the veteran in this town, the venerable veteran Chip Kelly. I don't think he thought that was going to happen. But talk about the Eagles. They got a lot of situations. They got a lot of issues coming up themselves. this weekend, you're talking, you got Tampa Bay. Greg Schiano's got a lot of problems down in Tampa himself. But one of the big issues that kind of call it, adding fuel to the fire, if you may, is that one of his own players, Deshaun Jackson, probably the best receiver on the team, goes and mouths off on Darrelle Revis, who is arguably the number one cornerback, the number one man-to-man cover corner in the league, and he's going to be facing Revis. Jackson is Deshaun Jackson, and he goes off and saying this, was it yesterday, that Deshaun Jackson feels that Darrelle Revis can't keep up with him. He feels that Revis is going to be chasing him all around the field because Deshaun Jackson is just that fast. It's just that speedy. It's just that awesome. Well, Deshaun Jackson, if I recall correctly, the last time the Eagles played against the team that Darrelle Revis was a part of was the New York Jets 2 seasons ago. And last I remember, Darrelle Revis held you 2 catches, less than 30 yards in an entire game. I wouldn't necessarily be the type to go run my mouth about a player who is just that good and held me to just that little myself. Again, you want to get in on the conversation, 856-330-4749. Send me a tweet at the Yossi G, or send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Football itself, you're talking about this NFL season, what's going on right now. The Jets also, they find themselves at 3-2, a surprising start for them, and the Giants as well, and conversely on the other side of the coin, 0-5, as well, a surprising start for them, likely out of the playoffs before, we really even hit the middle of October. But the Jets going this weekend, hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Meadowlands. It also winless Pittsburgh team, 0-4. They had the bye weekend this weekend. And, of course, that then derives and rides the question as to what type of team is going to show up what's going to happen with the Jets once they go this week. Where is this team going to be? They're not getting a lot of respect throughout the league, even though they're 3-2, simply because all the victories that they've had against teams have been against teams that have losing records, a combined 3-11, and now suddenly you're telling me that they're a team that deserves to get all the credit and all that mention when their 2 losses came against the 2 teams that had winning records in the league, and that other than that, they're just whatever it is, 3-11 against their opponents that they faced, that they won, that they beat. And other than that, the Jets really haven't been, deserving of that much of any type of, credence to them. For the Jets, it's really been a game plan that it's just let Geno do his thing and we'll hope for the best. Again, you want to get on the conversation, 856-330-4749. You want to chime in on the conversation again, 856-330-4749, or send me a tweet at me at the SCG, or send me a Facebook message, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Again, this whole thing with the Jets, it's really been kind of barbaric almost. You look at what the team has been going through just, for their fans, it's kind of a little crazy in terms of how they hold their fans on edge throughout the entire game with Geno Smith at the helm. It's just like you have one game you're going to play, it's going to be fantastic, it's going to be awesome from beginning to finish, and the other game you just stink it up, and then you look at the records. That's really all that really goes to show for the team itself. Again, 856-330-4749. We're going to go to the phones right now. We got Yogi on the cell. Yogi, how you doing, man? Yogi, you there, man? Hello? Yogi?
Yep.
Hey, man, what's going on?
I'm doing good here. Doing good. How are you?
Oh, very good, very good. So, what's on your? So what do you think about this whole thing with the Jets? Like, I know you're a Jets fan, and here we have this whole thing going on. The last couple of weeks, they win, they lose, they win, they lose, and you look at the teams that they beat versus the teams that they lost to, and you wonder, is this 3-2 record kind of here to stay, above 500, a team that wins more than it loses, or is this just a figment of our imagination?
Well, I was actually at the Monday night game this week, and I saw what I think can be a more dynamic offense. They finally had all 3 running backs in the game, and they had all 3 of them on the field at sometimes, and it seemed to confuse Atlanta. And I also saw Geno obviously looking very composed at the end of the game. I'm still not a fan, but he did look composed running the hurry-up offense, which is something that the coaching staff obviously is working with him, and he does very well.
Well, so you were at the game now. How did the rest of the team look in terms of the wide receivers? We know that there's been a lot of issues going on with the team. What do you see that's kind of has to be done in order to change this whole wide receiving core that's very weak, a wide receiving core that is injured and injury prone and not that experienced, in order for the Jets to be able to put forth their best foot at the rest of the schedule, the rest of the games coming up? The team has a lot of issues at the wide receiver position. That's just what I see.
Yeah, definitely. They brought in David Nelson. He had a small impact on the game. The other person that they brought in, which they didn't sign, is Josh Cribbs. And I'd be curious. I'd love to see him with the Jets. He could definitely help in the return game, which, although Curley has gotten better, he's still not a great return, and especially when it comes to kickoffs. Their kickoff returns are not great. He's been better on the punts this year, but still not great. And a guy like Josh Cribbs would do an amazing thing for them on special teams.
Well, the question then would be, there's been multiple reports coming out of the Browns camp, at a camp out of Cleveland, and of course their GM has gone on the record to say that they're not interested in trading Josh Gordon now that he's back after a 4-game suspension, and really increases the dynamicism of their offense. But if they actually would end up fielding what apparently NFL insider Ian Rappaport had claimed is a second-round pick for Josh Gordon. What do you think? Should the Jets go after them? I mean, I'm looking at the roster that the Jets have, and they are certainly bereft of talent at the wide receiver, bereft of healthy talent at the wide receiver position right now. But is he worth a second-round pick?
Well, my concern is more giving a pick now when you're looking at, like many reporters are saying, looking at a pretty deep wide receiver draft this upcoming year, and I wouldn't want to give up a second-round pick, especially with the Jets likely to be a middle to high draft choice. I wouldn't give up a pick for a guy like Josh Gordon. I would still look at the free agents, again, a guy like Josh Cribbs, someone who could help you in the short term until people get healthy.
Well, you mean you're looking at the Jets, and we see what's been going on with Rex Ryan, specifically with the defense. They really are is the reason. That portion of the Jets is really the reason why they stand at 3-2 and not possibly 1-4 or 0-5. And the question, of course, I know it might be a little early, and as a New York Jets fan and living in New York, what do you see? What do you hear in terms of news about Rex Ryan and his job security? What does he and the Jets have to do this season in order to secure another contract as head coach of the New York Football Jets?
Well, I think anything better than 8-8 might get him another contract because people were writing him off for a 4-12, at best a 6-10, and he's looking right now, if he can keep things going the way they are. I mean, they could be 4-1 if you take out the horrible game against New England, which they were really close with. They could be 4-1. They could be right there, and obviously the defense is back. He's got his personnel that he likes. He's running schemes that he likes, and you could see the difference that it's making. He's got a better, faster linebacking core. They did take a hit this week, but I'd say anything better than an 8-8 would get him another contract.
I think, though, that he has to come back because if he doesn't come back, then there goes the Jets' defense. I mean, Rex Ryan is a guy who knows his defense. That nobody can take that away from him. Son of Buddy Ryan, brother, Rob Ryan down with the Saints. Now look at the Saints. They look like a real complete team. And it's always been a knock on the Saints that they've had the offense but no defense. And now they got Rob Ryan, and look at what he's done with the Saints. They look like probably the most complete team in the NFL. So it almost seems that the Jets are handcuffed, that they have to bring back Ryan if they want to have a defense, and then they just have to build on the offense. And that's why you brought in Marty Mornhinweg, and that's why you brought in John Idzik, so he can kind of figure out what it will cost to bring those sort of offensive weapons in, those offensive players in to help out his essential pick, Geno Smith. If you want to go forward, you have to keep Rex Ryan. Otherwise, you risk losing that defensive mind.
For sure, and you have to look at maybe, you try to maybe bring in another head coach and just make Ryan a very well-paid coordinator again, or do you keep going this route where they're building the team? If you look at the early years of Rex Ryan, he had the team built to the style that he liked, which was ground and pound. He had some great running backs with Thomas Jones and LT, and when those guys were there, the Jets went far, even with the faulted Mark Sanchez. He had a top-5 defense, and he had a ground and pound offense. They need to get back to that, and they're getting back to that by acquiring Chris Ivory, although he hasn't been there, but Bilal Powell stepped up as a power runner, and I really saw it. I mean, they had almost 200 yards rushing against Atlanta, and it was a combination effort, and it really threw Atlanta off with the multiple looks that Marty was throwing at them. So you can keep Rex Ryan there. You just have to surround him with the right offensive weapons, and the past couple of years they didn't have that.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that because they did have that whole ground and pound potential the last couple of years, and I think it was the offensive coordinators and Rex Ryan allowing for that to happen.
Sean Green and Joe McKnight are not elite runners. As you can see, Sean Green isn't even getting anything going with Tennessee.
Well, that's because Tennessee doesn't have an offensive line that can hold up, Fort Knox. Even. I mean, there's nothing going on over there. The offensive line kind of reminds me in Green Bay, where Aaron Rodgers constantly has been playing behind guys who are like sieves, where people just go right through them. And still, it amazes me how many hits he takes and how much of a pounding he takes that he's still able to do what he does in Green Bay. In terms of the Jets with running back aspects. I totally did not see Bilal Powell being what he is, but he did show a little bit of signs in doing that in past seasons, both in college and, of course, on the team, on the Jets. But I think that now, with the offense going to a type of a coordinator like Marty Mornhinweg, who came from the Eagles, who is with Andy Reid for almost a dozen years. I mean, he was there 10, 11 years. I don't think that their two personalities can mesh very well, because Rex Ryan, like you said, is the ground and pound type, but Marty is more the type who likes to air it out. Look at all of Andy Reid's teams. They have traditionally been teams that threw more than they run. So I don't see how this relationship actually is going to be able to happen unless Rex Ryan takes a lesser role. And he's too prideful of a person, I think, to stay in New York as a defensive coordinator. I think if he's not the head coach after this season, he's leaving.
He can give up the reins on the offense. He's shown that. He gave Schottenheimer the reins where he stopped calling plays and things like that, and it was more the offensive coordinator's thing. And I think that's what they're doing right now, a lot of. They did run a lot of, like I said, they ran a lot of 3 running back plays, which really threw Atlanta off. And they're obviously Marty's more committed to the run than he's ever been, which is not saying much. But running these various formations, it's really thrown Atlanta off. And I'd like to see what they're going to end up doing this week against Pittsburgh, against an older defense. They can really take advantage of some of the speed and power that they have, even in the short game. I mean, it could be in a short passing game, but Cumberland had a great game. And they could really use that, dual tight end, 3 running back formation where it was really, really, hard for Atlanta to keep track of who was going to get the ball.
No, definitely it'll be something to keep an eye out on for. And we thanks for your call, Yogi. Thanks very much. And of course, you want to jump in on the conversation. You want to jump in on the conversation again? That's 856-330-4749. But you're talking. I mean, Yogi just mentioned the whole thing about the Jets and Pittsburgh this week. And look, yeah, they're an older defense, but they're a much more experienced defense. And you're talking about Dick LeBeau. I mean, this guy's been around as a defensive coordinator in the NFL since before I was around in this God-given God's earth. I mean, I haven't been here I've been here for plenty of years, thank God, but Dick LeBeau's been around forever, or so it seems. I mean, this guy pretty much invented today's NFL defense. And you're telling me that because he has a couple of aging defensive superstars that the Jets are going to go run up and down the road, run up and down the field against these guys? Come on. Dick LeBeau's better than that. He knows the strength and weaknesses of his, as you put it, older or aging defensive players, and he's going to put them in situations where they're going to be able to perform at peak perfection. He's not going to let them out there stranded on the field, not knowing what to do and being put behind the 8 ball due to their lack of speed or lack of closing abilities on an offensive player. This is Dick LeBeau we're talking about here. I don't think that's going to happen. This is going to be a dogfight. At the end of the day, Ben Roethlisberger is Big Ben, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have owned this series. They've only lost 4 times out of the last 22 meetings to the New York Football Jets. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to be a dogfight, and it will not surprise me if the Steelers actually win this game. And it will go a long way if the Jets win. It will go a long way to proving their credibility in this league as a team on the up, and as a team that is a potential playoff contender, not a playoff pretender. You're listening to Sports All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's been 48 years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do.
So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
Welcome, Sports Rabbi, here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, you want to jump in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, or tweet at me at the Yossi G, or send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. So we had this whole thing before the break with Mark Sanchez and his Jets. And what's more with the Jets, but now it's with Mark Sanchez and his job and what had happened. Obviously, Geno Smith, we all know what happened there. But the question now becomes, after the Jets royally screwed Sanchez, major, big time, think like Super Bowl size and then World Cup and combined it together. And that's how much, and then some. The Jets organization screwed Mark Sanchez. Apparently, there are reports coming out that Sanchez verbally, I don't want to say verbally abused, but berated Jets GM John Idzik for what Sanchez described for being put in the game against the Giants there in the third preseason game, which essentially ended Sanchez's career, especially now that he chose to undergo season-ending shoulder surgery. Of course, that brings up the question, where should Sanchez go? Where should he land? Think about all the teams that have all their issues. I know Cleveland has had its fair share of issues, but, the stuff that's been going on with Hoyer, even though before he went down with his ACL injury, I think they're going to give Hoyer another shot. So I don't really see, Sanchez going to Cleveland. But think of Carolina as a possible destination. Cam Newton has not been playing well at all this season, so certainly Sanchez could go there and challenge him for the job in the offseason, or perhaps he can go there as backup to Newton, maybe. See what happens. Again, running quarterbacks often are more injury prone than traditional pocket passers. So you look at what happened in Philadelphia last week, where during the Giants game, Michael Vick was injured, and Nick Foles had to finish up the game for him. So you think about things like that. Carolina would be a possible destination, but would he want to go there knowing that Cam Newton is probably going to be the starting quarterback? I don't think he wants to go through another training camp, another preseason where he's fighting for the number one job, and probably in the back of his mind and his heart of hearts knows that he's not going to get it because the team wants the starter that they have, their incumbent starter, to still be the starter. Maybe Minnesota. If Christian Ponder, Matt Castle, and Josh Freeman, it's like, bad, batter, and worstest. Ponder, he's a good backup. Matt Castle, probably the same could be said for him. You gave him the starting reins, but if his coach is not one named Bill Belichick, then he's not going to get you more than, a handful of wins in a season. Josh Freeman is just, right now, it seems that he is toxic. Like, you do not want to get near him. Maybe it was just the relationship between him and Greg Schiano in Tampa Bay. But it almost seems like, Freeman is a Viking till the end of this season. I don't see the likelihood of Leslie Frazier and co. of bringing Josh Freeman back next year unless he really, really shows something that nobody really thought was going to happen. And that's why I'm left with Jacksonville. Guys, come on. Give it a break. Give it a rest. You messed up on the 11th overall pick 2 years ago. Blaine Gabbert is not your guy. He is terrible. Terrible. He is awful as a quarterback. He's not going to make it in this league. Just chalk it up. Cut your losses now. Bring in Mark Sanchez. Heck, one might even make an argument to bring in Tim Tebow, but we're not going to go down that road. Bring in Mark Sanchez. If for nothing more than to be a really good backup behind Gabbert to be that veteran mentor to him. But for all realistic purposes, for Gabbert to watch from the sideline while Sanchez throws the football. Again, Jacksonville has other issues in terms of, defense is really bad, but they have wide receivers. You got Justin Blackman, you got Cecil Shorts, you got people who can catch the football down there. Go out and get somebody like Mark Sanchez. See how committed he is to coming back to the NFL to be a starting quarterback in this league. See how committed he is. I would certainly give him a long look if I was Veer in Jacksonville. I mean, talking about other teams in the AFC. Talking about other teams in the AFC East specifically. Do you remember the comment that Gisele Bündchen made after the Patriots lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl 2 years ago? Do you remember that comment? She said, "My husband can't expletively throw and catch the ball at the same time." I guess he can only do one thing, right? He's a quarterback. So unless he's got the ball, every single pass batted down right at the line of scrimmage, it'll probably be a little difficult for him to throw the football to himself. Probably also would get hurt. But look at what's been going on with him this year. I mean, outside the game against the Jets where you really saw his body language just blow up and spaz out. Outside of that, he's been like, the good soldier this year. He's been doing good. He's 36 years old. He ain't getting any younger. And his wide receiving core is, forget depleted. I mean, we got to find a new word for a wide receiving core that either left town, was let go, was not resigned, or is being charged with allegedly murdering people. Or, of course, is injury-prone and has been put under the knife more time than you cut sliced bread. I don't think that even made sense, but it sounded good. When you look at what has happened with the New England Patriots, I mean, they're still on the plan. I mean, the plan with the Patriots has always been, you win, defense, timely passing, Bill Belichick, he's awesome, we do it. But this season has been the most trying because you're trying to, the Patriots are really trying to make something out of nothing. You look at Tom Brady is number 22 on the NFL chart of quarterbacks, and his quarterback rating is 80.5. I mean, Geno Smith is number 19 on that list. Now we're talking about Geno Smith is number 19 on that list, and Brady is number 22. The question, of course, then goes, what do they have to do? What do the Patriots have to do? I mean, they signed Austin Collie from, the former receiver with the Colts. But he's been plagued by concussions his entire career. I mean, Aaron Dobson had a neck injury a couple weeks ago. I mean, you're looking at a wide receiving core of Kimbrel Tompkins, a rookie, and Julian Edelman, my cousin. So, I mean, really, this is going to be a real trying season for the Patriots to see if they really are that team. Everybody remembers them being. If Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, if they are able to make the playoffs and make a really good run, a healthy run in this postseason, this year, with the team that they have, they will go down as the best coach-quarterback duo in the history of the NFL. When you look at where they came from, where they started together, where Brady took over when Bledsoe went down, when Drew Bledsoe went down, I think it was against the Colts in the second game of the 2002 season. When you look at what happened from when they started to where they are today, they have got to be the best. And especially if they make the postseason this year and make a run in the postseason, win a game or two, got to be the best coach-quarterback tandem, coach-quarterback duo in the history of the NFL. I don't think anybody else can make an argument as to say that they would have anybody else that is even close. I just don't see it happening. 856-330-4749. You want to jump in on the line? We'll open up the lines after this break. You're listening to Sports Talk with All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. We'll be right back.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
Welcome back to Sports Talk with the Sports Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. If you want to get in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, or tweet at me at the Yossi G, or send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com, and search for me at Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. This weekend, I should say, Sunday, you have the Jets going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, who's going to win that game? You have, of course, the Eagles going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Giants, the Big Blue Giants, are playing right now against Chicago, against the Bears in Chicago. And when you look at these three teams, I mean, the Giants really are, I mean, they're holding on to their lives here. I mean, they're holding on to their playoff hopes by a thread. If they win this game, you can start talking about, you know, hopes and dreams and crazy possibilities. They lose this game, that they're out. Because then they have to run the table, essentially, in their division. Because if they lose one game, now you suddenly are starting to play against tiebreakers. I think in this division, in the NFC East, if you win 10 games, then you're going to make the playoffs. I think you're going to clinch the division at 10-6. So if the Giants lose this game against Chicago that they're playing right now, then they have to run the table. They have to go 10-0. And at 0-6 and turning around going 10-0, I don't think that's happening. I don't see that happening at all. If they win this game against Chicago, then you can start thinking, I mean, it's improbable, likely not going to happen, but you at least have a whimsical iota of hope. And hope can be a very dangerous thing and very, very awesome if you are in the NFL. As for the Eagles, the other team in that NFC East that is currently tied for first place with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, after the win last week, if you would have been in Philadelphia and you would have heard the way the Philadelphia sports fans were talking, the way they were going off about their team, I mean, you would have thought that, you know, they were about to go winless for the season, the way they were talking about the team. And then they beat the Giants. I mean, they beat the winless Giants, and suddenly they went from being one game out of first place to being tied for first place because the Dallas Cowboys lost in a shootout to the Denver Broncos, led by Peyton Manning, who's, by the way, having a ridiculous season. Showed that he was still human last week through his first interception. But all that aside, I mean, the people in Philadelphia now are like, oh my gosh, look at us, look at the Philadelphia Eagles, we are in first place, this is crazy. And guess what? The Eagles have plenty of issues themselves. I mean, you have Deshaun Jackson running his mouth off on Darrelle Revis, who he's going to be facing on Sunday. And, of course, you have the Eagles themselves, Nick Foles or Michael Vick. Nick or Vick, that's, of course, the question. I mean, a lot of people want Vick because he's the veteran. But if you start a guy who is known as a running quarterback and who tends to tuck the ball and run if nothing is open on his first or second or third looks downfield, and that guy is injured, and his injury is a hamstring injury, well, that hamstring injury hamstrings the quarterback. He becomes hamstrung because suddenly he's not as mobile, and if he tries to do something a little extra, a little bit more push in his foot, a little bit of hop in his step, a little bit of gallop in his run, then probably he's going to end up to re-injure that hamstring that's already very sore and tender, and he's going to be sitting out for 2 or 3 weeks. So if you are an Eagles fan, guys, get a grip with life. Get a grip with how things go in a human body. If a person is injured, right? I had a hamstring injury recently, right? I was on the shelf for 4 months, essentially. I couldn't run for 4 months because I used to run, about 6.5 miles, about 4 times a week. And I hurt myself. And I'm still building myself back up, and it's been almost 6 months. But for most of the time, I could not go more than a mile, maybe a mile, 1.01 miles before my hamstring started hurting me, and I really felt like I could barely walk. So when you look at it that way, if you have Vic coming back and he's not 100%, you're putting him in jeopardy. You're putting your franchise in worse jeopardy because he's going to have to sit out anyways. So may as well sit him out now and see how Nick Foles plays. See what happens. Give him a shot. This is a freebie for Chip Kelly to see how his other quarterback could fare in a game and see if they have to rush Vic back. I mean, look, if he plays against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Eagles win, 35-17, 35-21 against Tampa, and he throws for, he's like 60%, 65% accurate, and he throws for 320 yards, and has 2 or 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions. And guess what? Nick Foles is starting the following week against the Dallas Cowboys because he gives you the best shot. You're not rushing back Michael Vick. There's no need to rush him back. If Nick Foles and the Eagles beat Tampa Bay, 24-23 or something like that. They squeak out a last-second field goal, and they just eke out a victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Foles has got, an interception or 2, and he's showing that he's not necessarily, fully on the same page as everybody else. Then you turn to Michael Vick and say, hey, Mike, can you play Sunday? You feel like you're ready to go? All right, you're going. That's how it should be working out in Philadelphia, and that I think is the best way for Chip Kelly to go about looking at this week and possibly the following week against Dallas with Nick Foles, Nick or Vic. In terms of the New York Jets, like I was mentioning earlier in the show, they're going up against a vaunted defense. It's aging, yes, it's true, but still, Dick LeBeau at the helm, it's still a vaunted defense. You think about it. Dick LeBeau's been around forever and a day doing his thing. This is going to be a fantastic game. I really, really am anticipating a really good game between the New York Jets and the Pittsburgh Steelers because both defenses, right now Pittsburgh needs to win this game if they want to have any hope of making the playoffs. And they usually tend to rise to the occasion. The Jets are looking at this game and you're coming off a big Monday night victory against Atlanta, in Atlanta, where they showed the world and shocked the nation that they can play. That they can play with the best of them. No matter what you throw at them, they can rope-a-dope with you and then outlast you in the ring. But they still feel like they're being disrespected. Like they're not getting enough respect in the NFL circles as being a team that can play, that can match up against any of the best teams in the league, simply because the teams that they beat had a combined record of 3-11, and the teams that they lost to have winning records. And everybody looks at the Jets as this season being a rebuilding team, and suddenly they're at 3-2. And if they beat the Steelers, I don't care. The Steelers, they are still 0-4, and they don't have a winning record, but they're a good team. If they beat the Steelers at home in New Jersey at the Meadowlands this Sunday, then it will go a long way, not only towards getting them to having that respect throughout the league, that, hey, the team is back, Rex Ryan's vaunted defense is back again, and the Jets can play, but it also goes a long way towards their playoff potentiality, towards being playoff contenders as opposed to playoff pretenders. I'd like to thank out all those who chimed into the conversation, all those who called in. And don't forget, next week, we have another awesome edition of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
All Noise Radio,
Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.